Welcome. My name is Tammy. I'm with Single Life Today, and tonight I'm with Cherie Anderson. We're presenting Live Your Dream Travel Job Part 2. Cherie was last week telling us about all the different opportunities and what it's like to be in travel. And tonight she's going to share her top 15 favorite travel careers, and more importantly, how to get hired. So, Cherie has been instructing neophytes and professionals on how to do the job better or how to get into this industry for 25 years. We met, I don't even know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And I was so glad to find Cherie because almost, gosh, every trip when we go out on the road with travelers, somebody comes to one of our tour leaders and says, I'd love to do what you do. And so they would send me, an email and say, I want to work for you. And we take it seriously. It's a career. It isn't something that we wing. And so I was so happy to find Cherie because now when somebody comes to me, I say, great. Do you have experience? No. Well, I'm going to send you to the pro. And if you start taking lessons with Cherie, not only are you going to learn everything from the ground up, from the basics to the expert details that you need to know to do any of these jobs, once you're done, she also helps people find a position. And many times when we're looking for a new tour leader or what we call concierges, we go to Cherie and say, we're on the search. So she helps us with that. So we've had this wonderful relationship, and I look forward to listening to her tonight. And I hope you enjoy your time with Cherie, and please use her expertise, ask all the questions that you want. And Cherie, again, pleasure having you here tonight. And I'm going to turn this over to you.
Thank you, Tammy. I am so excited to be here. Like a lot of you, I've been stuck at home by myself for a year, and I am so ready to get out and be with people and just being able to talk about our careers and seeing them starting to come back is exciting to me. So I get probably too excited about it. But like Tammy said, I started out, and I talked about this last week. I started on the cruise ships, taking care of the kids, escorted groups on the ships, went into international tours, hated it first because they yelled at me. I didn't know what I was doing. First tour, 28 days in China back when it was tough. And I went, what am I doing? Went back to the ships, eventually learned my job. Started training tour directors, like I said, about 25 years ago. Companies started coming to me looking for people, got into the staffing, started out with colleges from, if you know California, from Ventura to San Diego, taught at the colleges, wrote the tour director training guide, which is in some of the schools, which I love. Did an online class for about 10 years, training people, and it's just fun because a lot of those people now I work with too. They're my colleagues, they're my friends, and it's so much fun. And I try to keep things really easy. So just say what I say, do what I say, and then they think you've been doing it for years. So that's my background sort of in training. And I met the people that are on with us today that have great backgrounds, a lot of it in logistics. And Tammy is good at that. They're good at that. I'm not that great with logistics. I'm the one that goes out on the tour. They put it all together. I keep it organized and say, follow me. So those are the jobs I'm going to talk about more where we're out there traveling with the groups, locally, domestically, internationally, not doing what I think the hard work, all the planning and all of that. But I was telling them behind each job I talk about, somebody's doing the logistics. So when I mentioned different companies like destination management companies, there's somebody in the office doing the logistics if you're more interested in that, and some great backgrounds. Also wanted to mention, most people don't even go into this job until their kids are grown. Maturity is actually an asset. And think about yourself. I think about how young I was when I started out. I had been a teacher and I'd been in real estate and medical sales. So I wasn't as young as I like people to think I was. It started. But I mean, if you're going someplace, you kind of like that maturity, somebody that you feel confident they have experience, life experience. And so companies are more interested in how you do than your age. In fact, sometimes they don't even know your age. Sometimes a lot of companies I never even met face to face. So that's how it works. But I wanted to mention that. So last week, I talked about, and I think you have the recording if you didn't see it, I talked about working on the cruise ships. I talked the international ships as well as the ones in the waterway. I talked about cruise hosting, which we've talked about a lot with Tammy, international tour director, tour managers working for outbound tour operators. I talked about working for inbound tour operators as a tour director in the United States. I talked about adventure guides, and something I pointed out, you think of adventure guides as being really young. And this was in my mailbox a couple weeks ago, just before I spoke, and you can see there's gray hair there. These aren't kids.
Nice.
So, and we kind of talked about Tammy. You had Linda said she's a real cyclist. So just hint, hint. That's sort of the adventure guide part. Student tour leader. And I was thinking about, in fact, everybody that's in here too, and especially the Boston and Philadelphia area, getting into student tours is really fun. And if you like working with kids, we talked about that last week. Tour guide. And since last week, and I don't think I mentioned this last week, I've been getting postings, and there's a company called Adventure Ghost Tours. So if you're interested in being a local guide, you need to live in that area. They're looking for people. And what's fun is that something like that, they'll train you on the job. And it's usually flexible when people want the tour, you're available. So if you're interested, go to usadventureghost.com. And they're like in the Boston, Massachusetts area, all the way down the coast, all the way down to Key West, Florida, across the South, California, Los Angeles, all the way up to Washington, D.C. So just wanted to mention that. I thought, guys, that sounds like really a lot of fun. So those are the ghost tours, but that's sort of related to last week to help me with that. And we talked about step-on guides last week, where you step on the coach and direct the drivers and the guides. And something I don't have in my book that I wanted to mention, flight attendants. We're hearing about like the airlines, having such financial problems. I have a couple of friends, one I worked with locally, one's a tour director. They're working for the airlines now. One's with, I think SkyWest, just finished her training. She's so excited because she loves to travel. And, we're not kids. And the other friend I work with locally, and she's with, not sure who she's with. And I can't even remember. Blue. Anyway, what is it? Blue?
JetBlue?
JetBlue. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, she's with JetBlue. And so there are jobs out there doing that too. And you don't have to be 20 and 5'10" and gorgeous like you used to be when I wanted to do it.
I want to add something, since, if you don't mind, because you said it was okay.
No, go ahead.
So I was a Pan Am flight attendant in my 20s. And this is relevant because I remember we were the first hire in a very long time. So everybody was senior. They had been there for a long time. But so there was this whole big group of new hires. And I remember flying with a man, and he was, I was 23. So at the time he was probably like 55, right? And I was like, why are you doing this? I had no concept in my 20s of why somebody would want to do like this beginner job at the end, what I thought the end of his life. And so I just want to emphasize that it's not too late to do these things. And I feel like travel is the kind of career that people can finally, it's that encore career. You can say, listen, I love to travel. I love people. And I finally want to do something for me. I don't really need so much money right now, or I have some flexibility with my time. Well, anyway, I was just like, I didn't get it in my 20s, but now that I'm going to be 59 next week, I completely get jumping on an airplane with the only responsibility to serve my customers for that flight. And then I get off, and I'm going to hopefully be in Paris, although if I'm starting, I'm probably in Columbus, Ohio. But, a new destination and checking it out and having that free time and meeting new people. I get to talk to everybody on the flight. So anyway, at my young age, I thought I was flabbergasted, but of course I get it now, and I want to encourage people to seek it out because people do it at all stages.
Oh, and they are so excited. They are so excited. The one put everything in storage. Or I don't know if she had anything left. She was selling everything. She's just so happy, and she gets deals at hotels, and she keeps posting on Facebook. So anyway, wanted to mention that, even though I don't have that in my little ebook there. But so those are the ones we talked about last week, and I have information on that. And that last video. And also something I mentioned at the end of the last video, I'm home. I love to talk to people. I'm home alone. I have lots of time. If you want to give me a call or email me and have any questions or anything, welcome to do so. And Tammy will have that information at the end. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to continue on to another group of let's see, we got through 9 of them last week. So 10 through 15, and I have an extra one in here too. So product managers. So last week when I talked about being an international tour director, domestic tour director, all of that, they have what they call product managers. And oftentimes they're people that have been leading tours, in which I think are the best product managers. And oftentimes it's guys, because women, we just want to travel, I think. And the guys, okay, I'm going to get serious. And it's a good travel job because you're traveling around the world. You're the one that's trying, and Tammy does all of it. Tammy's her own product manager, tour operator, travel agent. I don't know how she does it, but the big companies have one person that goes out and then they put the tours together, or they change the hotel, or they add different venues, or they're called product managers with the major tour operators, and they travel. They usually can take somebody with them. They're wined and dined because every hotel and every restaurant and every tour and every helicopter wants them to have their service. So that's a product manager. And again, I personally think tour directors that do it for a while make the best product managers. But if you've got a great logistics background, like some of the people in here, that might be kind of a direction you want to look at too. Now I want to get into the meetings, the convention, I call it the CMI, Convention Meetings and Incentive Market. Some call it the MICE market, meetings, incentives, conventions, and whatever they have E stand for. I'm not involved with that part of it, but events or something, I don't know. But this is what I'm mainly doing now. I'm tired of traveling all the time. And in this market, you can travel or you can work locally, depending on where you live. I've heard Boston and Mississippi, depending on where Mississippi, if you're in a popular tourist area, resort area. Philadelphia would have a lot of what we call the destination management companies. I'm going to talk about a lot of the meeting locations and such. So anyway, so to start it out, convention meetings and incentives. So incentives, companies, and they all do this, all the Fortune 500 companies say to their employees, those that bring in X amount of dollars get a free all expense trip paid for with your spouse, and you're going to be wined and dined, and depending on the budget, they want it the nicest place they can go. So people will work hard. Because if I'm in Orange County, California, so if they tell me, well, we're going to take you to the Marriott near Fashion Island, I'm not going to work that hard, But if they're going to take me to Paris, I'll work hard for Paris, or they're going to take me to Germany or on Crystal Cruise Lines, or in the United States, New Orleans, New York. Right now, Florida is getting all the meetings. I just sent out an email a couple of weeks ago with like 6 big major conventions all going to Florida for obvious reasons because they're open right now. So, and safely and all that I know too. So that's becoming really a highlight. New York, any place there's a resort, even Tucson, Arizona, because there's big golf resorts in Tucson, apparently. I live in Orange County. I live on the California Riviera, or inland a little bit from the California Riviera. We have massive, gorgeous Oh, golf courses, resorts, beach activities, whale watching, sailing, all of that. So it's extremely popular for these types of programs. So the Fortune 500 company hires what's called a meeting planner or an incentive house. And let's say the Fortune 500 company is New York. The meeting planner may be in Chicago. And they're the ones that keep track of who's going to be able to go on the trip. They'll make all the reservations. They'll decide, let's say the company wants to come to where I am, the California Riviera in Orange County. So again, companies in New York, meeting planners in Chicago, they both usually come to California and decide which resort they're going to stay in, and again, this is where the logistics come in that some of you were talking about, what restaurants, what activities, and again, it's always top of the line because you're dealing with the top VIPs. So the meeting planner then hires a local company in here, let's say in Orange County, and they're called destination management companies, DMCs. And this is like this big secret. Everybody that gets in is like, wow, I never knew about this. They're called destination management companies, DMCs, and we're the local hires. We're the ones that meet them at the airport, take them to the resort, take them again, whale watching. Here we have, of course, a lot of activities, surfing. I'm not teaching them to surf. I take them to somebody to teach them to surf. We do the electric bikes. We do kayaking. And again, somebody's organizing all that. I'm taking them to that. We take them fine dining. I like taking them around the harbor, the Newport Harbor, the little electric Duffy boats. That's my favorite thing to do. I miss it a lot right now. And just great fun. It's flexible. They usually go 7 days a week. They're, daytime activities, nighttime activities. It's like, are you available? Great. If you're not, you're not. And just so much fun. And the people you work with are fun because they're people that like people, or they wouldn't be in that job. They wouldn't last very long. And then the people you work with are very professional. They're happy to be there. They're being wined and dined. Great job. I cover a lot of that in my training guide, but also I have a class called VIP Travel, Enjoy VIP Travel in the convention meetings and incentive market. And it's not that hard. Just follow what I say to do, and it's easy, it's fun. If you want to see if there is something in your area, just go to Google and say, destination management company in Boston, destination management companies in Philadelphia, destination management companies in Mississippi, and you'll get a list of companies, and they're local, so you can go in and meet them. They'll be there to help you, so they're not just sending you out, and it's great fun. And so, and I say that because I look forward to getting back to doing it soon. I hope. And all my friends were all texting back and forth. When do you think? I kind of think October, maybe. That's my thought. Because usually
we're hoping a little sooner. It's very interesting, Cherie. I'm going to interject a little bit. Because my family started a travel agency, so I got a little bit of my feet wet there. But when I left Pan Am, I worked for an incentive company in New York.
Oh, good.
So I'm officially kicked out of the country of Italy because of the high demand of my New York incentive travelers. That's a whole big story. Add is that the incentive traveler is a discerning traveler. And so your personality for that kind of work should be that you're willing to serve. Your ego has to kind of be in check, because you might, not all of them, many people are lovely, but there are going to be some really high end egos in that kind of a group. Just my feedback on that.
No, and that's true. I mean, that's what I was saying. That you are dealing with the VIPs, and there's some. But the thing is too, I'm only with them like 4 days or so. So I don't have to deal with them all the time. So if you have a problem person, you just have to get through those days.
But on the fun part too, you do get to spend some time. There are different levels too. So when you first start, you might be the guy at the airport holding a sign. You might be at a hospitality desk. But once you get into a groove and that company trusts you, you might end up spending some time with some pretty high-end people, some CEOs of major companies, and it gets quite interesting once you've paid your dues a little bit.
It's true. And what I'm talking about with the destination management companies, we're called field staff. If people ask me what I do, I usually say tour guide because they don't know what a field staff person is, but we're field staff. So we're meeting them at the airport and taking in departures at the end, and then all the tours and all. But then what you're talking about is that, so that's working for the destination management companies as field staff. You can also, what Tammy's talking about, travel with the group. And that would be travel staff where you're working for an incentive house or a meeting planner, because they also send, so I mentioned the company in Chicago. So they're going to send field staff, or not field staff, I'm sorry, travel staff to the meeting wherever it is in the world to do like what Tammy's talking about, help with hospitality desks, sort of wine and dine. You get to know like the same, if they're doing well, the same, like with your parents, the same incentive company will have the same accounts over and over if they're doing a good job. So like you said, the staff really gets to know them and those very high end, and they really appreciate you recognizing them and knowing that this is the kind of champagne they like, this is the kind of drink they like. This is, I mean, it's very much that. So
and you're always
and that's called travel staff.
You're always in a Ritz-Carlton or a Four Seasons.
Yeah, they're all four maybe, but 5-star. Like here we have the Pelican Hill Resort, 500 acres plus. We have the Ritz-Carlton we use, the Hyatt in Huntington Beach. Sometimes that's not quite as upscale as some of the others, but the Montage in Laguna Beach, those are the kind of places that we use. The Monarch Beach Resort. So if you're working for the DMCs, I come home at night. I have cats to feed the dog. But if you're working for the meeting planner and it's travel staff, then you're staying at those resorts and you're also taking them to the finest dining and all of that, So I take them to the dining, but not always get to eat. I go to the finest restaurants, and working for the DMCs, I may be eating a granola bar out of my pocket, but just to warn you. But if you're travel staff, then you're part of that. Then if you get really good at being travel staff, and I'll tell you that travel staff people are just egging to go now. They're just starting to get meetings back. And when I say October, I'm hoping October becomes really busy, because that's usually when we are. And the last time after the last recession, like that 2 years after that October, companies were booking like 2 weeks, 4 weeks in advance. Resorts were full, and they're still booking, and that's my dream, but I can't guarantee it, but it's really fun. So if you get good, then you become a trip director, and they get paid more, and they're more in charge. Like Tammy's saying, they're the ones that regularly show up. They may have travel staff to help them, out along the way. And there may be one trip director, there may be 6 trip directors. If it's a huge program in Vegas, there's a lot of trip directors. So that's what people are at the best position on that, as far as being a lead for the programs. And that's, again, working in the CMI market. I also want to mention what I don't have in my book, but I have in my training is transportation manager. If you get really good at logistics, and when you're working for the DMCs and you're working for the meeting planners, you get good at logistics. And this is where you're organizing the transportation. We may have, like I have a friend that he probably just got back. He was so excited. He moved to Vegas, and he did this transportation literally all over the world. And he was doing the NCAA. He left about a week early. So all of those people going in, probably not as big this year as in the past, but you're arranging the transportation for all of them. You are, who's going to pick them up, somebody to meet them, the manifest, the hotels, if they're going on tours, how many buses, what time, who's going to lead them, what do you need done? I mean, all of that. And that's the transportation manager. Some of the big programs, you might have 5,000 people leaving in a day in some of the bigger programs. Now we need you to organize the luggage and, have that easy to find. I mean, it's really an art. But if you're interested in something like that, like he'll travel around for Crystal Cruise Line. When, go to China, he'll go to Germany. I have two friends that do that, and they help with the logistics, and that's transportation manager. And again, DMC's meetings, a good place to start and getting information, getting good at that. Another position I wanted to talk about is
a quick note on that. Some of you here might have traveled with us in the beginning. We had a co-chairs named Mary Delia. I think Shelly knows her. And that's what she ended up doing. Like, she worked for us, but then she had her eyes set on this, DMC place. She ended up being like the maven for transportation for Super Bowl. So every Super Bowl, she's in charge. And then she told us about the hooker bus, which is a whole other story in itself. I'm not going to, because I don't know. But she was so into the logistics of the thousands of buses and the transportation and the VIPs and getting people to and fro. It's a science in itself, but she loved, again, being able to do those high-end resorts and rubbing elbows and running into VIPs and things like that. So, but her specialty became this Super Bowl piece. So it was kind of cool.
Wow. Yeah. We had it in San Diego quite a few years ago, and it is a big, big deal. And because you have the Coca-Colas and all the sponsors too. And each one of those sometimes will have separate DMCs just to take care of that segment. So in fact, something I missed this year that they're saying, or actually this year now, I think we're going to go, I guess it would be next year, but the Rose Bowl, the Rose Parade. A lot of the people I originally trained, because I started out in Southern California, that's where they started. Companies started calling me looking for people to do the Rose Parade and the Rose Bowl. And, we usually deal with the alumni. And this last time, not this year, but the year before, it was fun because people were saying, oh, I took your training 22 years ago. This is my 22nd year doing the Rose Parade, Rose Bowl. So they did announce, it sounds like it's coming back this year so far. So we're excited about that. But those are the kind of things. And again, if you're retired, and I know I'm at home, I just want to go play with people, safely. And this is a great way to do it because, again, you have the flexibility to say, yes, I'm available. No, I'm not. And I brought this up last week, and I don't know if this affects anybody that's watching now. I always tell people, don't quit your job. There's so many things you can do locally that we talked about last week, or even these ghost tours and tasting tours and walking tours and Airbnb tours and working, if you're in a big city resort area, working with the DMCs where you can work locally and work around your job, on the weekend and have fun with it. So wanted to bring that up. And it's also what I found with my students when I started my training was the ones that started with the DMCs did really well on tours. I just saw the tail go by, the cat tail. Better yours than mine. I went right over here. But those
she knows when she wants out, she's really bad because then I'll throw her out.
If you disappear, we'll know why. I had to put my dog.
You'll be great on the haunted tours, Renee. You'll be
Yes.
on the haunted tours.
My black cat, yes.
Perfect. I was going to say that what I found, they're the DMCs that started calling me looking for people. And I was from a tour background. I had been leading international domestic tours cruises. And that's what I was teaching. And these companies started calling, looking for people. And I thought they were inbound tour operators, which I talked about last week. And I remember introducing one of the gentlemen, they're trying to hire people as an inbound tour operator. He goes, no, I'm a DMC. And again, because of this logistics background, if you like planning that kind of stuff too, they're often looking for people to be in charge of a program. So, but what I found when they went on tour, they did really well because working with the DMCs, we might be meeting 200 people for the day. We might be meeting 800 people for the day at the airport. And we get really good at finding people that try to get lost sometimes, I think, lost luggage, transportation glitches. We get really good at handling that. So when you get on a tour and now you go to the airport and you only need to meet your 40 people, it's a lot easier. We get used to working with a lot of drivers, a lot of transportation, and the drivers are great, but it does take some experience, because some, if they know you don't have experience, they can sort of take over. But you get good at working with drivers. You get work. I mean, you take those skills out on the road as a tour director, and they do really well. So just wanted to mention that as a sort of a working into leading tours. Peer staff, when you do cruises, if you live near a port city, in my little ebook, there's several companies around the United States that hire people for the peer staff. I don't know the names right off, but there's links in there, or you can contact me. But they'll hire people to help with the ships that are disembarking in the morning, getting the luggage off, getting everything set up, getting it organized, getting, helping, making sure that the coaches are there to go to the airport or parking, whatever it is, and of course, customs and all of that. So they'll help the people off in the morning, and then in the afternoon, they're there to help the people on in the afternoon, that are going to be embarking that afternoon. So that's peer staff. And that can be fun too. It's flexible, it's fun. You're working with people that are excited to be there. You may be directing them, you may be signing them in, you might be working at the information desk. In fact, if you live near a pier, you could always go down and say, I'm interested in working for you, who do I contact? Something like that. And again, it's flexible. If you're available, great. Some will come through, at a certain time of year. Some will come up through every week for a certain time of year. So it's flexible. I like to tell people, if you're interested in getting a job on board, working for the cruise lines, this can be a great place to start, because the cruise staff, the people that hire the cruise staffs, are going to be getting off and on the ships too. And you get to know them, and they see you, and it's a good time to approach them or sort of work your way into that. And that's peer staff, working at the pier. The last one I want to talk about, which is like all the jobs, is Alaska. If you have the summer available, I'm hearing yes and no on Alaska. I've heard some people say they are getting hired for Alaska. Some of the ships are having problems because I don't think Canada is going to let them dock there yet. So we're still kind of looking at that. We're not 100% sure. I have a cat attacking her own tail. If you hear her, it's her own tail. She's a little crazy. I foster, and I end up with the mom kitties. The kittens get adopted, and the moms are, she's only been with me about 4 years waiting. But that's, anyway, Alaska in the summertime, they hire hundreds of people to work in Alaska. So you can work as a tour director. A lot of people get their first start. And I think Linda last week, I think she said she started in Alaska. Great place to work as a tour director. You can work as a tour guide. A lot of their tour guides, and most of them actually drive their motor coaches. So they'll train them how to drive the big motor coaches, and they are big. It's like they have double length. And you see these little college girls sometimes with these huge coaches. So all, push button and easy, not like the old buses, so they do a lot of that. They hire people a lot of the places close down in the wintertime. So like Denali National Park, everything closes in the wintertime as far as the cabins and all that. So they hire people to work their hotels, to work their restaurants, to work their hospitality desk, their information desk. If you're or just receptive services, which I talked about last time. Receptive services, a meet and greet, meeting the people at the airport, getting them on the right vehicle, sending them to the hotel, at the hotel, making sure they get on the right vehicle to go where they're going. I was thinking last night when I was thinking about this, I had a gentleman, and I always tell my people wear their badges. I have a friend that says the first few days, I always say, wear them all the time. And I had a gentleman that would get on the wrong buses in Alaska. And the first time he did it, I saw him in the morning, and I said, oh, meet here. We're going to be there early. And couldn't find him. At the end of the day, he said, oh yeah, I was with you. I was with those two ladies. Well, no, you weren't. And so we were in Fairbanks and I saw him getting on another bus. So I grabbed him. We were leaving Denali and I couldn't find him. And he was like, we were on the first bus. They lined all the buses to go to the train at the same time. We're in the first bus. The fourth bus, I found him sitting there. He goes, I knew you'd find me. So he had his little badge on. So trying to keep track of all of that. Even their trains. I mean, they have conductors that'll work on the train, and the conductors will tell people about the moose and have them do this, and they see the moose and just have fun with that and point out anything out there. They have boats besides the ships. They have boats, that'll go up the waterways, and they'll do tours on that. They even, I don't think any of us want to do this, but if you have children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews that want to work in Alaska for the summer, they'll hire young people to handle the luggage. And boy, do they get a workout. So, they're at the airport, they're putting the luggage on these great big trucks. They're taking them off the trucks when they get to the hotels and, back and forth. So there's a lot of that. The main companies that hire to do that would be Princess Tours and Holland America Tours. And they kind of work together now. And that's tours. Princess Tours is actually in Seattle, and Holland America West Tours being the Alaska division. And all you need to do is go to their website and apply right on the website. They need people for the summer. They like hiring retired people. They like hiring teachers. They hire a lot of college kids because they need people available for the full summer. So if you have the time, and some people will go up and maybe work at the hotel the first year, and then the next year they're a tour director, or they're a tour guide one year. And sometimes you're in the major cities, and sometimes they'll hire locals in the major cities. So you might be in I think probably one of the, how do I say, interesting places because there's nothing to see is Prudhoe Bay. That would be a tough one to beat. Prudhoe Bay is mile one of the pipeline. And it's an interesting place to see because there's nothing to see. You look out in the horizon and there's not a tree, there's not a bush, there's not a hill. So that one would be a tough one. But sometimes in the smaller cities, if you're a tour director, you'll travel around. Now, I had a student, Dan was probably in his mid-50s. I think when he worked for, I think it was Princess, and as a tour director, and in the major cities, they had like a dorm for all the guys. And I guess there were a lot of college kids. There were some mature like him, and then the college kids, he was the one going, shut up, it's 3:00 in the morning. So you might have to deal with that. But that's Princess Tours and Holland America. The best one, I think, to work for is Premier. And you can find them online. I think they're up in Seattle. And Premier, why it's good is because you're staying at the hotels with the people. He eventually worked for them, sent me texts from Alaska going, this is so great, and they, beginning of the summer, he went up and they went on the helicopters and the float planes and all of that. So, and that's Premier in Seattle. And again, we don't know what's happening this summer, but hopefully by next summer, we'll be really busy again, I hope, because it's a wonderful place to travel. And that's Alaska. So any questions on the jobs? And I'll get into kind of hiring and what goes on there. Any questions on any job I haven't covered? All right.
I have a question.
Oh, we have one?
Well, I did have a question about the housing. You mentioned it, but that sounds so intriguing to me. Just to, get away for the summer, especially if you live in a hot location. Alaska sounds refreshing.
Like Florida.
Yeah. I'm a menopausal woman living in Florida, so Alaska sounds really great. So let's say I go up there for some work. Probably I'm going to have to get an apartment or something, right?
I don't think so. It depends on who you work for and where they put you. Like if you're the tour director, you're traveling with the group. And so you may not be, some situations you may be staying at the hotel with Holland American Princess, and other times you'll be staying more in a group. And a lot of the tour directors like that because they like to network. And again, they're not all college kids like you went through.
Right. But I guess for a beginner, right? So for somebody who's a beginner, they may not be right away a tour leader because they've got to be commentating, talking about the area. They may have to demonstrate some skill sets. But let's say it's your first season and you hire on and you're doing something kind of ancillary just to feel it out. Might I have to have my own accommodations?
Possibly, but the cruise line will help you with that. Princess Cruises and Princess Tours, the Princess Tours will help you with that and give you suggestions
so
for that.
they're used to assisting these temporary workers with housing.
Yeah, they're going to have, they have to, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's why the major cities, oftentimes they'll hire people that live in the major cities because they don't have to worry about that. So if you're in the smaller areas, you would have to deal with it, and they would have to help in some way and give suggestions or help, or, do something to help with that.
Okay, great. Good. That sounds like a fun summer.
And Alaska's beautiful. I remember doing a tour in Alaska. I used to do it a lot, and then immediately flying to Florida in the summertime. And I wasn't used to being there in the summertime at the Miami airport. It was so hot and humid. I had no idea.
What's cool about Alaska too is, as the year goes, so you're there for the summer because it's a summer season. We always did our Alaska cruises in August because it's the best chance for great weather. But the flowers are on a super size because they've had this extraordinary amount of time in the sun because they're
24 hours.
24-hour sun. So when you go to Alaska in August, everything is on super size. You go to Butchart Gardens in Victoria, and it's phenomenal. So
yeah,
I think that sounds like a great place for somebody who wants to just try it out. See what they can do for themselves. It's only a summer commitment, and it could be something really cool to try.
Yeah, and you know what I like all of it. One year I stayed till the end of September, and by then it's already dark at 5 o'clock. But we saw the northern lights at night. I can't guarantee that, but that was an advantage to going late in the year.
You know what? Sorry, Tour Leader 101, guys. We can't guarantee it.
Yeah, tour director, I'm not responsible for the weather or the airlines.
Yeah, we can't guarantee the Aurora Borealis.
I've cried because I felt responsible for things like that.
And that's a part I want to bring up. You didn't ask me, but one of the things that we look for at Singles Travel International is heart. So people come, they learn the skills, they learn the tactics, they get hired. It's really important for our organization that they have a big heart because we love on our members, and that's something that we can't really train. So when we hire, that's what we look for.
That's funny. I've been thinking about that a lot because I'm like the only woman that does this, and I think that, and I've had people come to my training that went to others, and I said, oh, it's nice to hear the other side. And in my training, like I start them out in my online training with the WTO, the United Nations World Travel Organization, and their goals, and bringing the world together and sharing and the culture. And I used to get thrilled in talking about the fact the wildlife. I mean, the tourism has helped a lot of wildlife because without us supporting the wildlife and supporting the community, the wildlife probably wouldn't be there, be saved and such. So it is important. And if anybody's interested, there was a good video I watched the other day with Rick Steves. I didn't watch the whole thing, it's long, but he talked about tour guides. And it was so interesting because that's what he said. And he said, I've gone to tour guide schools, but he said, but they didn't have heart, basically. And he wants people with heart. If you're interested, it sounded like He started out as a driver guide. And see, I don't know his tours really, but it sounds like he hires driver guides through Europe, and you need to be bilingual, he said. So if people are watching this and you're bilingual and you want to be a driver guide, he might be a good person to contact. And what I liked about him too, he didn't bring this up in the interview, but I heard this recently, when everything shut down, he continued to pay his people, and he paid them, but then they went out in the community and volunteered. So he paid them to go out and help the community while they were off. So I thought to me, that said a lot about his heart.
Well, Cherie,
it is.
I forgot that you did share that first day concept with me when we talked a year ago about the who.
Did I?
Yes, and I forgot how I felt aligned with that. No, but I mean that's why you and I have had such a great relationship, because you care so much. You're trying to help these people. Sometimes they come out and they have different intentions, but I feel like as a tour leader, you really have to care about your kind of your charges for the week or the 10 days or whatever it is, and they are putting their trust in you. And they're also taking a risk. There's fear. They're going to a place that they've never been to before, and they're trusting the tour leader to take care of them, right? And so somebody has to have that essence of, I really care about the people that are in my charge this week, no matter.
Yeah. It's about them. It's about them. It's not about you. I mean, I've had wonderful, wonderful experiences, and I love it, but I'm very, very serious about my job. And I don't joke and kid around a lot, really, on my tours. I mean, I really am focused. And when I do my training, I constantly say to the people, and this, I'm getting into the hiring part, constantly saying, like when they go into the WHO, okay, here are their goals. How can you help? What can you do to help? And to share that with your tour members. What are you going to do? And so, I get into a discussion with them on that. And then I do that throughout. And it's like, even Rick Steve says, anybody can go in and say, yeah, I can do this and I can do that. I can train people really easily. And in my book and all, I say, keep it simple. You keep it simple for the people. Say this, do this, cover this in your briefing, and that'll help a lot of the challenge from having a lot of the challenges in the logistics. I mean, I can go through logistics, but what can you share that's special? And I even heard a tour operator not too long ago say, I always like something at the bottom of the resume that I can relate to, like I had a gal that raised 5 kids, and I said, oh, you can do anything. And she sent her resumes out. Immediately she was offered a job. And the first thing the gal said, you raised 5 kids, you can do anything,
Multitasker.
Yeah. And who travels better than a mom and all the logistics she has to go through, and with a heart?
Yeah.
And I always say, when this career started out, it was young men out of college, their first year out of college. It was good management skills, domestic tours, that kind of thing. Now, I would say the majority are women now, because we can do it too. And I don't want to say we do it better, because I think we're all equal, really, there's good and there's bad, but we can do it, do it very well. And moms have done really well. So throughout the course, and what you want to do, what I usually tell people before you do anything, is write down 10 reasons why they should hire you. What, and that came to me because when I first started and companies were calling me looking for people, somebody said, one of the gals said, God, I ask them what they can do, and if they can't tell me, how do I know? How do I know why I should hire them if they can't tell me? So what are the 10 reasons why, one, okay, I know logistics, I know how to lead a tour, and then what else? Like Tammy's talking about, what else, were you Did you lead the PTA? Or did you chaperone? You're interested in student tours, like I talked about last week. Did you chaperone on student tours? You know, were you Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts? You know, did you work with, were you a softball coach? You know, so you want to get into student tours. So you're, you know, good with leadership, good with working with parents. We were talking last week and Linda was talking about, you know, the kids are easy. It's the parents, the chaperones that you're dealing with. So what is it? What are the 10 reasons? I have a degree in history. Okay, so I taught. That was a great background for me. And I say that because they get a lot of resumes, and this relates to what Linda was saying. They get a lot of resumes. I love people and I love travel. Or I love travel and I love people. And Linda's thought, and this gal I talked to at Princess thought, you know, was probably, well, then buy my tour. You know, travel. You know, like the gal from Princess, I'm not there to make people. I talked to the gal that opened the resumes for Princess, and I just pictured the big desk with the big trash bin, you know, and she said, I'm not here to make people's dreams come true. I want to know what they can do for me. So just like Tammy's talking about, what can you do for them? Now it can be, I love travel so much that I'm bilingual, that I have a degree in history and cultural geography and, you know, that. But just to say I love people and I love travel is not it. What can you do for Tammy's travelers? Why are you special for that? So you want to come up with 10 reasons and try to make them specific too, not like I'll say, oh, well, I'm nice and I'm on time and I'm a good person, and you know, try to be specific if you can. Because I have a degree in history, because like I'm talking. I mean, you know what your backgrounds are. Mark talks a lot, you know, his logistics background. Because I've got a great logistics background, this is what I did. You know, this is where my passion was. This is what I enjoy doing for people so that they can relax and have a good time. You know, my thing as a tour director, like I said, I try to make it easy for them. There's a lot of work that goes on behind that they don't see. And that's fine. That's my thing. But I want it easy for them. I just want them to show up and have a good time, you know, and I'm there for them. And so if you think of your list that way, what can I do for them? And that will go if you're talking about working for a DMC, a meeting planner, a tour operator, a student tour operator, you know, a cruise line. Once you come up with those 10, then you can start putting together a resume. You can start, and I'll tell you another good place to find that too is go to in the book, the ebook behind Linda, and in my tour director training guide, I have links to the companies, but go to the companies. And usually at the bottom of the big companies, there's a little click that says careers, and look it up. See how they describe what they want. And you'll see that that's what they're looking for, are people that can help their people, not, you know, what can I do for me? You know, they will have a page saying what they're, you know, why they want you to work for them, but, you know, you want to, and I know Linda's got a really good list. A very long list I've posted a couple of times for her, but so you can look at that. That might give you some ideas. Then you can put together your resume, your cover letter, and then you're going to go for an interview. And a lot of the interviews now are somewhere over the phone, the first one, and then they'll get into a virtual one like we're doing now. And again, have that list in your brain, because what happens to all of us when we get an interview, we get nervous. And then they say, well, why should I hire you? And you've got brain freeze. And afterwards, we all do it, no matter how prepared. Oh, I should have said, you know. So you want that list, because they'll say things like, why should I hire you? Why do you want to do this? What are you good at? You know, how can you help my people? You know, those kinds of things. And you have your list all ready to go.
And, you know, Cherie, we'll ask, one of the questions I ask is, tell me about a time, especially if it was a tour leader, right? Because we only hire already experienced because we're a mature company. I can't afford to have neophytes. But one of my questions is, tell me how you changed somebody's life.
Ah,
It's so doable on a trip. And our vision is creating life-changing experiences for our travelers. Now, we may not change everybody's life on every trip, but we know the potential is there. And so I want to hear something extraordinary. And that's going to show me how they went out of their bounds, above and beyond. And that's one of the areas where I see heart. And so that's a really unusual question, but I think that so many tour leaders actually have done something like that. They may not have put it in those terms, but they've probably gone to the end of the earth for somebody. Now, it's not getting their medicine when they were, the prescription got lost in the plane or something, but I'm talking about listening, hearing something that person wanted to get out of their trip. Now, of course, as an organization, it's our job to seek that information out in advance and then share that with the concierge. And then the concierge can take it to the next level during conversations. What is it that's going to make for Shelly, Mark, Renee, Michael? Why are they here? They chose this destination for a reason. It could have been a lifelong dream. It could have been heritage. It could have been history. It could have been any number of things. But is there something that we can add to this week that'll make it really special? And that's what I'm driving for, so that those people that are on our team, are out there seeking that opportunity every day of every tour. And so that's one of the questions I ask. And so if they don't have an experience like that, then I'm like, eh.
That's a good question. And a couple of things. And you talk about listening. I'm obviously a talker. In fact, I watched the video from 2 weeks ago. Why do I ever talk? Because I haven't been able to talk.
But you have a lot to share, Cherie, and that's what we're here for. We want to hear
I
you.
know. But listening, and I even have it in my book, and it's like my life lesson. And I love the saying, if I talk, I like me. If you talk, you like me. And I would try to remind myself with the tour members, like, shut up and listen, because people love to talk, and they love to talk about past travel experiences and all of that. And it's you don't have to be a big talker. I love you said listening. And I used to say, I was having such a good time in my job. It's like, is this important? And I think, yes, it's important, because this is, it's like when we get to the end and people say, well, gee, I wish I had spent more time with my loved ones. I wish I had done what I always wanted to do, which was to see Alaska or whatever it is. Or I wish they worked hard all their lives. And I think that's what we're there, that's what we're there doing, is helping them to make those memories and have those memories. And how many people go home and are excited and share it with their family and what they did. And I mean, I just think that's really important. I mean, that makes my job important. And then I get to go too. But that's a good question that you asked, because I have to think about that myself a little bit here.
Yeah, it gives us, it gives us purpose. It helps us feel fulfilled. Cherie's not going to talk about this, but I mean, the travel industry isn't known as the highest paying, but the trade-off is you get to see the world and you see joy created, and you're a part of the joy that's created in the lives of these other people. So that's not for everybody, not for everybody, but for those of us that get a sense of, return from creating that kind of an environment or that kind of experience. And then that's something that's what makes this for you.
Yeah. And it's true. It's not, if you have to like people, or you wouldn't last in this at all. But if you like people, it's just the best. I come home exhausted, but it's so worth it.
In the beginning, somebody said something like herding cats, right? So I never felt like that in my tour leading days, but it comes up on
it's cute. It's good.
Poor June, poor Vicky, poor so I was like herding cats, right? So one of the things I would say that you being organized is helpful. being organized, having some methods to how you, structure your activities or your projects is going to be really helpful. But here it is in a nutshell, right? Herding cats. It's alphanumeric, alphabetical names, counting the heads. So I've only lost a person one time in all my years. I'm not taking responsibility for it. Here's the girl who did it. I was in a Fortune 100 scenario at the Olympics. AT&T was my client. We lost the key account person on a mountain in France. That tour leader moved the bus and she didn't tell everybody. So, if you make a change, you gotta, hey, we're meeting here at 3:00. You move the bus, you gotta go find everyone. You can't be making out with old Pierre on the mountain there, right? You gotta come and tell your people that you moved the bus. So anyway, long story short, never lost anybody after that. And it's all like, if I'm on tour, I'm always going 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Like if I'm walking on the street, if I'm in a bus, no matter what, I'm constantly counting. And then I've got my alphabetical list of everybody, so I know who's there. So everything is alphanumeric at the most basic level. And I know, Cherie, we talked about a lot of things. And but if I'm coaching anybody in the beginning, I'm like, you have to count and you have to know the names. So get that from the very beginning if you're going to be a tour leader. It's key.
Good. Absolutely. Yeah. Those logistics are really important. And that's what I try to keep. I'm constantly doing lists. I get off on my tours. I have a list what to do in the morning before I go to bed. I put it all in front of the door so I don't forget anything. During the day, I'm making another list to do when I get back that night home, back to the hotel. And then I have the list of what I need to do the next morning. I'm that. It's all, yeah.
But terrific. You're hired. Yeah, you're hired. Oh. But that's it. We're constantly planning, right? We have this master thing, and then we cross and we make notes, and then we're ready for the next day because we barely have time. Here's another thing. Like, I've been on many tours where, like, I go back to the room and I'm using wet wipes. So like this, take this off, put the gown on, and then you're out the door again, right? So you sometimes, if there's a problem, you don't have time for yourself. And so you have to have a system. You've got to be good. You've got to be organized because like Cherie said, so she's got I have always had a clipboard in my daily program and check. Mark comes up, he tells me he wants this, I write it down. Then I'm ready, I take care of it. By the time dinner comes, Mark, here's the answer. And then I cross it off. And then the next day I have my new notes for the whole new day clean and anything that carried over. So you're like constantly assessing the data and constantly, being mindful because the travelers are only thinking about themselves, right? And if you don't, they're like, oh my gosh, Cherie forgot about my transfer. And so all the work that you've done boils down to Cherie forgot my transfer, and so you really have to be diligent and pay attention and keep track, right? So anyway, I don't know. These are just
absolutely
tidbits that come to mind as I'm listening to you and what makes a great tour leader from a mediocre tour leader or a great travel person to a mediocre, so you have to love people, but you could be in that planning stage that you talked about. Like some of this is background. Kim on my team, her Myers-Briggs, she doesn't want to talk to anybody. But she will do it, and she's good, and she's better than she thinks. But she is so methodical and organized. So she makes a great operations person. Vicky, Linda, they have really great personalities. They're totally different upfront personalities. And so sometimes we lose a little bit on the detail, but not too bad. So, it depends. So try to fit whatever job, Cherie gave you 15 ideas tonight. And gosh, I could talk about this for 3 more hours. I love this so much. And I'm not cutting you off. If you have more to go, over time, so I just want to be respectful. If everybody's cool, we can stay on. Is everybody okay with timing? You're okay that we're over? All right. So your personality would also be, I think, an important factor in which kind of job. So there's customer facing and there's not customer facing. Pretty simple. So you know your personality, but there are opportunities in both areas for sure.
Yeah, there's jobs for everybody in travel. I mean, some, like you said, face to face, and somebody that likes to do accounting and that kind of thing, which I'm not good at. There's those jobs too. There's the in-house jobs where you're not face to face with the clients, and then there's the sales jobs. I mean, and I think I mentioned last time too, if you live near one of the major tour operators or cruise lines, you can also work in their office in one of those jobs, or answering the phone, doing the reservations, and they usually give you a couple of tours a year with you and your spouse or your partner or friend, because they want you to know. So there's jobs for everyone, but everybody isn't for the same job. No, I'm going to say that. So yeah, I'm just finishing up hiring. It's like most jobs, you apply, and I want to say you follow up. You don't drive Tammy, somebody like that, crazy. If Tammy says we're not hiring right now, some people go, oh, yeah, I'm not hired. Yeah, wait, she doesn't need me. But in 2 weeks, somebody gets sick and suddenly she needs someone. And when we start back again, I think that's the kind that's going to happen again, because some people aren't ready to travel. And people start at the last minute booking. So suddenly they need people at the last minute. So you just let them know, I'm available. Just send Tammy a card once in a while. I just wanted to let you know I'm still available when you need me. I can go right away. I just need a 5-day notice or whatever it is. And then when they are hiring, they'll think of you. Don't just, like any job, you send a resume and I never heard anything back, so they don't need me. Well, if they need somebody in 2 months and they haven't heard from you and they need somebody, what happens in our business, they need you right away. A lot of times people are hired emergency hiring. They need you right away. If it's a DMC, if it's a meeting planner, if it's a tour operator, if it's Tammy, suddenly she needs somebody now. She can't go back in resumes from 6 months ago. She doesn't have time. She wants to, this person sent me a card, they're available. I'll call them right now. When I did staffing, I hate it. When I was doing staffing, everybody's not as reliable as you think they are going to be, but I would have somebody that I thought was going to be great cancel at the last minute. And I would hire somebody that maybe wasn't as great as somebody else, but I knew they would be there. And that to me was more important than hoping that I can find somebody else. So you just keep in touch. And after recessions, after 9/11, what happened when we came back again, we came back fast and people book at the last minute. People wait to book their, and Tammy's going to go through this. They wait because they want to see, I don't want to book a year from now because who knows what's going to happen a month from now, maybe, where before they would book, 90 days in advance or 4 months in advance. And so suddenly Tammy has an extra 10, 12 people on a tour and needs somebody. Now other companies are getting busy too. So people that she usually uses that may work for someone else now suddenly isn't available. So that's a big part of hiring in our business, is following up. And don't drive Tammy and the tour operators crazy. Just send them a card. Just wanted to let you know I'm still available. I have this time. I'm available the month of March, or whatever it is. So anyway, just some suggestions, and I think we can sort of finish there. Do you want me to talk about what I've done for your group, Tammy, or what I've done for?
I would like to kind of ask if anybody has questions, but also Cherie, so what, if somebody's interested, who do you help in your role? Tell us what kind of, what would people come to you for, so that we can share that, because you've, spent some time with us here this week. What kind of careers are you helping people to?
All the ones I talked about 2 weeks ago, all the ones today, those are all, I've done all of them pretty much myself and my students. I started out with the cruises and then international, and then some domestic, and then now I'm working in the CMI market, doing more of that. So, I've I've been around. So if there's anything they're interested in, or they're welcome to call me, they're welcome to email me. Like I said, I have lots of time and sort of help direct you if you have any questions. In my training, I have tour guides, tour directors, international, domestic, CMI, student tour leaders, cruise hosts. I mean, it's all part of the training. Eventually, I'll probably start doing the face-to-face again. It's just this year has been, it's been on hold. So I have my online class. And if you sign up, it's confusing. If you sign up for the online class, and I gave you an affiliate link, I gave Tammy an affiliate link. So if you do sign up for the class, use her affiliate link, because I want how she's kept in business. We've lost a lot of companies this year. And the work that you've put in and the work you've put in doing your membership and all, I want to support that. So use that. And if you sign up for the class, and it's all 4 classes I talked about. It's confusing when you sign up because you'll see all of them, but you just sign up for Live Your Dream Travel Job, and it's all of them together. They were originally separate. I put them together in a master class. Sign up and then let me know, and I'll send you a copy of the tour director training guide. This is usually $199 and includes my help. I mean, people can order this, just this, if that's what they want. But if they enroll in the class, I'll send them a copy, because a lot of the tour directors will take this with them on their tours. And I just found that out this last year. Oh yeah, I always take it with me. So I include that. If you're with Tammy, just, enroll and then send me. I signed up with, I was with Tammy, and send me your address and I'll send you a hard copy of the tour director training guide.
I put the link in the chat, guys. I first put the first one from Tour Travel, but I put the second one. The second one is going to bring you in. And you know what, Cherie, don't worry. Like, everybody's super understanding. Like, they already know, like, we launched Single Life Today this year. Now we have 2 websites. What made sense 6 months ago, starting to look back, and you're like, okay, now how can we make it better? But that just goes to show you're dedicated. You've been in this industry for a long time, and we're changing. And so
a lot.
We're trying to make it better. So people are understanding about that. But if anybody's interested, I think from a perspective of how to launch a new career, Cherie's rates are very reasonable. Like, I've been getting coaching, and you can spend thousands and thousands of dollars, but her stuff is in like double digits, really. So if you're interested at all and you want to get some skills, she's got the tactics, the skills. You'll walk away with some very good information if you're ready for that. And now she's got her new book that she launched. So
yeah, and I try to keep it personal. I mean, I taught an online class for 10 years at 2,400 colleges worldwide, and I loved it, but we could only talk within the discussion area, and some people found me outside. I was pretty easy to find on the internet, but I couldn't personally help anybody, so this way we can work together. And I have Zooms and I have videos, and, I've just tried to make it really fun and all that. The book you have behind you, that's my ebook I introduced in March this last year. And that lists all the careers I've been talking about, except flight attendant and transportation manager, but you can apply to the same companies. But it links you, I give a brief description of each. It links you directly to the websites of the major companies. It links you directly to the hiring sites of those companies. And then I try to have a link that links you to how to find more companies. Like I mentioned, if you live in a resort area and you want to work for destination management, do a search on Google, destination management companies in Boston or Mississippi or Philadelphia, wherever you are. And then, so I try to give suggestions like that. It's not how to, but it's how to, it's all about that. And if you do, Tammy will put the link, use the code Tammy, the coupon code Tammy, and then it's 50% off, and it's like $27. So it's not bad. Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing I want to express to everybody too. Like, everybody wants a little experience. Like, some of the positions that Cherie talked about, carrying luggage, okay, well, they're probably going to train you on. But if you want to be a tour leader, or you're looking at some of these higher level things, they're going to look for a little bit of experience. So coming from a class is going to be helpful, because at least you have they're still going to want a little experience. So
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
Cher, I'm going to turn the video off right now for our viewers on YouTube so that we get a nice clean, and actually it was an hour and a half. So what a great value here tonight. And we're
I didn't know
open
that.
up for more questions. So signing off for our YouTube viewers, and thanks, Cherie.